Hey YouTube fam, welcome back. I am really looking forward to today's Playful Vinyasa practice, which we will get to in just a moment. Before we do, I wanted to let you know that I'm hosting a 30-day yoga challenge inside of my membership website called the Kula for the entire month of April. I do this every year as a celebration of the Kula's birthday on April 1st, and this is year number 4, which is wild. I'll put all the links below so you have all the details, all the information, and some codes to get to join in at a discounted rate. It'll be 30 days of uploads from myself as well as some guest teachers sprinkled throughout, and it'll be a whole variety of practices. So lots of movement, but also little drops of meditation and breath work and philosophy uploads so that you can get a well-rounded container of practices throughout the month that are meant to expand your experience of the yoga practice and maybe nudge you to try some things that you haven't yet, or maybe you have some curiosity around or even some resistance around, but you haven't explored those spaces yet. You can also replace any of the practices throughout the month with any other class inside the Kula library. There are hundreds of them. You get access to the whole library. And at the end of the month, we have some prizes, some really big prizes actually. One person will win a retreat spot to a Team Kula retreat that we are leading in Panama in March of 2025. And a couple people will win annual memberships to the Kula. So it's my favorite month of the year inside of the platform. I hope you'll join us. Let me know what questions you have, and again, all of the links and the things you need to know are below. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump in. This is going to be a playful, funky sequence, collection of sequences, and we are going to start in a child's pose. So walk the knees out wide, big toes together, letting the hips drive into the heels, and then walk the hands out long in front of you. Gripping finger pads to the mat, and letting the heart get a little heavier towards the floor. Take a big inhale to fill up. And a big exhale, open the mouth and let it go. Big inhale all the way to the top. Big exhale, move it through. Grip finger pads and knuckle pads to the floor as you round through the back body. Shift it forward until the wrists are underneath the shoulders. You can keep the knees wide, broaden across the collarbones, lift the tailbone to the sky and pull the hips right back to the heels. So it's a cat-cow, but we're adding an element of forward and back as we round through the back body. Shift forward. Open the heart space, press through the heels of the palms and send the hips back. A couple more times, round, shift it forward. Broaden across the heart as you pull the hips right back. Let's go one more time, round through the back body. And open the heart space, pull the hips to heels. This time, shifting forward, wrists under shoulders, and as you get there, bump the knees underneath the hips and start to move just through a couple cycles of your traditional cat-cow. Opening the heart space, and then rounding through the back bodies, you tuck the tailbone down and pull the chin in. Just one more. As you're ready, make your way back through neutral. Kick the right leg long behind you, right foot flexes out, and just circle out the right ankle for a moment, letting the pops and the crackles happen as they do, as they will. Can you even find some movement throughout the feet? Your feet are meant to move, probably a lot more than you move them on a day-to-day basis. Come back to neutral, tuck onto the left toes just for the fun of it. Let's spice things up for a moment. Lift the left knee to a hover above the floor and just hold here. If this is enough, stay. If you want more, you can pop up onto left fingertips. You could bring the left hand to hold onto the right shoulder, press the floor away from you with the right. And then come back down, left hand to the mat, left knee to the mat. As you land, slide the right toes to the back left corner of the mat. Think almost like a pigeon pose as you send the hips back in space and really just sink into the pose. So keeping the big bend into the left knee. The left ankle is chasing the right hip point somewhere in front of the right hip. And then keep inching the fingertips forward towards the top of the mat. Not going to be here for long, but this is a favorite of mine recently. Take a big inhale to the top. And a big exhale, let it go. Stay grounded in the left knee. Give a little bit of a press into the left shin. We're going to shift forward, and as we do, step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Pop up onto the fingertips when you get there. Sending the hips forward, broaden across the heart. Bring the right hand to the base of the skull so the elbow is pointed outward. We're going to roll the right shoulder open until the right elbow points to the sky. And then unravel that so that the right elbow can tap the inside of the right foot. 2 more times. Open it up to the top. And then close it out. 1 more time. Open it up to the top. This fluid and flossy movement throughout the thoracic. Unravel right elbow to tap. Come back up onto the fingertips. Tuck onto the left toes. Lift the left knee. And just find a little bit of a bounce with the hips. Maybe even some circles or some figure eights. It could even feel good to straighten and bend through the right leg a couple of times. And as you're ready for it, with the right knee bent, spin the left foot flat, think almost like a warrior 2 with the back leg, and then walk the hands towards the top left corner of the mat. So the right knee is bent, the left foot, your back foot, is parallel to the back edge of the mat. Hang out here or spice it up with me by lifting the right hand up off the floor and then lifting the left hand up off the floor and then holding this space for 5, 4, 3, 2. Skandasana to the back of the mat. Straighten out through the right leg as you pull the hips to the left heel. Right toes point up to the sky. Hands can always be to the floor for support here, or they can be lifted. Warrior 2 to the top of the mat. Right foot plants. Right toes point forward. Fingertips reach in both directions. Soften the shoulders back and down as you take a big inhale. Exhale softens you maybe a little deeper into the shape. On your inhale, reverse your warrior. Left hand slides down the back of the left leg as the right arm reaches up and over. On your exhale, hands to the mat. Frame out the right foot and step back to a plank pose, wrists underneath the shoulders. As you get there, bend into the elbows, lower halfway and hold here for 5, 4. Knees can drop if you need them to. Here for another 3, 2. Lower all the way to the belly on 1. Locust pose, lift the toes, lift the heart, squeeze the shoulder blades onto the back. Make sure your glutes are fired up here. Maybe the heels can lift a little higher. Take an in-breath. As you exhale, hands to floor. Tuck onto toes, but keep the knees grounded as you press right back to a child's pose. Toes tucked under. We're gonna find a couple more rounds of that shift forward and back as we undulate the spine, round through the back body until the wrists come underneath the shoulders. And then open the heart, pull the hips right back to heels. 2 more times, round and pull it forward. And then open the heart and send it back. 1 more time, round through the back body, shift forward. Broaden across the heart space, hips to heels. This time, shift forward, wrists under shoulders, pause. Kick the left foot to the space behind you and then just circle out the left ankle to start. So rolling it around in one direction. Roll it around in the other direction. Maybe you get some movement actually throughout the foot itself. And then come to a flexed foot, so left big toe is pulling up towards the kneecap. As you tuck onto the right toes, lift the right knee to a hover and hold this space. You can stay here, you can pop up onto right fingertips. Right hand could hold on to the left shoulder. If the right hand is lifted, sink it back to the mat. Drop the right knee to the mat, and now left toes swing around to the back right corner of the mat. And as you get there, pull the hips back in space, just bending into the right knee and sending the hips way back. Again, thinking almost like a pigeon pose. So you soften into this shape. Left foot is probably off the mat, totally fine. Take another full cycle of breath here. In all the way to the top. Maybe an open mouth exhale, let it go. Again, the shift is forward all the way to a big runner's lunge shape. So you can almost think of a tug with the heels of the hands to pull the heart forward. Step the left foot to the outside of the left hand and pop up onto fingertips when you get here. You can always bring hands to blocks as well. Left hand comes to the base of the skull, left elbow points out. And then roll the left shoulder open, right rib cage scoops underneath you. And unravel, left elbow taps the mat. Open it back up to the top. And then close it out, left elbow to tap. 1 more time, open it up to the top. And then close it out, left elbow taps. You come back through neutral, hands to the mat underneath the shoulders. Tuck onto the right toes and lift the right knee from the floor. Find a little bit of a bounce with the hips. or you could find some circles with the hips, or maybe even some figure eights, but just move it around a little bit. Again, also possible that you play with bending and straightening through the left leg a couple of times. Next time left knee is bent, we'll spin the right foot flat so it's parallel with the back edge of the mat, and then walk the hands forward and to the right. Inviting the hips back in space as you crawl the fingertips in the opposite direction, and as you meet your depth in the shape, you're welcome to hold or to lift one hand off the floor and then lift the other hand off the floor and be in this space with me for 5, 4, 3, 2. Skandasana to the back of the mat. Right knee bends as you send the hips on top of the right heel. Left leg straightens out, left toes point up to the ceiling. Again, hands can always come to the floor for support, or they can be lifted. Root into the right foot as you shift forward, warrior 2. Left knee bends. Fingertips reach like someone's playing tug-of-war on your hands here in both directions. And a subtle twist of the heart to the right. One more full cycle of breath here. Using your next inhale, reverse your warrior. Right hand slides down the back of the right leg. Think of lifting up and out of the waist so that as we're lengthening the left side body, we're not collapsing into the right rib cage. Cartwheel the hands to the floor. So framing out the left foot, step back to your plank pose. Bend into the elbows, lower halfway. And then press back to the top. 2 more times. Bend into the elbows, lower half. Back to the top plank pose. 1 more time, lower half, hold here. This time either pull it through for an upward facing dog or any other back bend that you'd like to take along your way to a downward facing. Rolling over the toes, send the hips up and back. As you get here, pedal out the feet a couple times, bending into one knee and then into the other knee. Shifting hips side to side. Movement that feels good in the body. And then finding your way back through neutral. Come onto toes. Take a really big bend into the knees. On your exhale, step, walk, hop, play, handstand, however the feet make their way to the top of the mat. Forward fold. In breath, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine. Big exhale, fold, let it go. In breath, rise to stand. Take it slow. Rolling up the back line and sweeping the arms up and over at the top. As you get there on your exhale, cactus out the elbows and open up the heart space. In breath, fingers to sky, tall through the spine. As you exhale, chair pose, bend into the knees, pull the hips back, send the heart forward. Squeezing shoulder blades towards each other on the back body. As you're here, shift onto the toes, let the heels lift, and pause. Maybe sink the hips even a little bit lower. And from there, maybe you sink the hips even a little bit lower. Maybe even a little bit lower than that until you meet a space that feels sticky and spicy and like it takes a little bit of extra breath and focus and attention to be there. And then call yourself into the moment as you hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Sink the hips all the way down to the heels. Stay as high onto the toes as you can. High onto the toes as you can. Can you get the pinky toes in contact with the floor? We're gonna meet in a down dog. If you wanna plant the hands and rock into a crow pose or even into a handstand along the way, those spaces are available to you. They're of course optional. Everything's optional. You can step back, hop back. You can take a vinyasa along the way. You could go straight to your down dog. We're gonna pick up our pace, about 1 breath per movement through a few rounds of our sun salutation A. As always, I will cue them, but move with your own rhythm. It's all good if you're not exactly with me. Come onto toes, bend into knees. Exhale carries the feet to the top of the mat. In breath, halfway lift. Out breath, fold. In breath, rise to stand. Out breath, forward fold. Come right back down. In breath, halfway lift. On your exhale, plant the hands, your vinyasa. If you wanted to add on your crow pose, your handstand, anything else along the way, you're more than welcome to go there. But eventually, we meet in a downward facing dog. And as you get there, we've got 2 more rounds. Come onto toes, bend into knees. Exhale, feet forward, top of the mat. In breath, halfway lift. Out breath, fold, let it go. In breath, rise to stand. Out breath, forward fold. In breath, halfway lift. Out breath, plant the hands, vinyasa, any way you want to move it. Knowing that we're meeting in our down dog. And that there's no right or wrong way to get there. As soon as you land in your downward facing dog, we roll it right into the last one, onto toes, bend into knees. Exhale the feet to the top of the mat. In breath, halfway lift. Out breath, forward fold. In breath, rise to stand. Out breath, right back down. In breath, halfway lift. Out breath, plant the hands, your journey to a downward facing dog. And when you land in your down dog, take an extra breath or so there, just to do exactly that, to land, to find your breath, to find the connection that your hands and your feet have to the support beneath you. On your next inhale, lift the right toes, bend into the right knee, open hip. And as you get there, possible that you soften the left forearm to the mat, just as an option, into kind of this half dolphin, half down dog shape. As you pull the right knee back into the chest, lift the left forearm, step the right foot all the way through between the hands. Crouching warrior, left toes lift. Think warrior 3, except the right knee is bent, so spine parallel to the floor. Right knee bent, left leg parallel to the floor. As you straighten through the right leg, come all the way up to stand and bring the left knee up into the chest. So left thigh hugs up towards the left rib cage. Now from here, I want you to keep the bend into the left knee. Open the left knee as wide as you can to the left. And then once you meet that shape, bring the left hand to the outside of the leg. You're not grabbing onto the leg, you're just using it as a point of contact. Now press the leg into the hand. Feel the firing up of the glutes. Now keep the hand exactly where it is. Don't move the hand. Rotate the left knee back forward. And then bring the left knee back to the hand and push the hand even a little bit further. So going to a little bit more depth this time. Now left knee rotates forward. And then one more time, open it up. Maybe the knee presses the hand even a little bit further away. Left knee comes back. Your center, straighten the left leg out in front of you, palms to touch at the heart. Spice it up, get tall through the crown of the head, take an in breath. On your exhale, we're gonna lever back to our crouching warrior. So as the left leg levers to the space behind, find that bend into the right knee. Palms to touch at the heart space, take an in breath. On your next exhale, left leg is gonna swing over to the right. So plant the outside edge of the left foot off to the right side of the mat. Maybe you bend a little deeper into the right knee. Right glutes are definitely fired up right now. Bring the left hand to the mat. Right fingertips up overhead. Now hear me out here. We're gonna plant into the left hand and plant into the left foot. As you pull the right knee up towards the right armpit and step the right foot all the way back to a fallen star. Bump the hips up. Reach the right fingertips up and over, lengthening down the right side. Right hand comes back down to the mat as you shift to the right toes. Kick the left foot up and back, 3-legged down dog, and then bend into the knee and open up the hip. Option that you stay here or that you roll it open towards your wild thing. Left toes could chase the floor behind you as you drive the hips up. As you take your inhale, plank pose, roll through center, and either choose a vinyasa or skip it. We meet with the hips up and back, downward facing dog. On an inhale, left toe sweep high, bend into the left knee, open hip, knowing you can stay here, or right forearm could drop to the floor. Make sure you're pressing the floor away from you with the right forearm and with the left palm. As the right forearm lifts back up, curl it in left knee to nose, round through the back body, and step the left foot all the way through. Crouching warrior, kick off of the right toes, left knee stays bent, spine parallel to the floor, right leg parallel to the floor. As you straighten through the left leg, come all the way to stand, bringing the right leg with you. So as much as you can, closing out the space between the right thigh and the right rib cage. Now I want you to open the right leg all the way to the right as much as you can. Right hand to the outside of the thigh. Again, you're not grabbing onto the leg, you're just creating a point of contact. Now press the right leg into the hand. Firing up the right glutes. Right hand stays where it is, right leg comes back through center. And then 2 more times. Open the right leg, press the hand away. And then right knee comes back through center 1 more time. Open it up, press it away. Right knee comes back through center, pause. Palms to the heart. Extend the right leg long. Pulling toes back towards you. Lift the right foot a little higher, take an in-breath. As you exhale, lever forward, crouching warrior. Left knee bends as right leg extends to the space behind. Stay broad across the collarbones, thumbs to sternum. All right, keeping the bend in the left knee. Right leg swings around to the left. Find a place where you can plant the outside edge of the right foot to the floor and find some sturdy contact there. Right hand to the mat, grip the fingertips to the floor as left fingertips sweep up and over, and hang out in this shape for a moment. This twist feels really good. Bring some length into the outer left hip and IT band. As you're ready, weight comes into the right hand and right foot as left leg starts to lift. And step the left foot all the way back, fallen star. Sending the hips up towards the sky, reach the left fingertips up and over. Unravel the shape, left hand to the mat. Right toes come from underneath to behind you, and as you get there, bend into the knee, open the hip. Either hanging out here or rolling it all the way towards your wild thing. You can even imagine that I press the slow motion button in these transition spaces so that you bring some more awareness to the shapes between the shapes. As you take your inhale, plank pose, find center. Wrists under shoulders. Vinyasa or skip it. We meet with the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take an inhale here and an exhale here. Okay, we're gonna get a little funkier with our last sequence, maybe a little spicier, and then we're gonna slow things down. Walk the hands back towards the feet until the hands are about halfway up the mat. So you're in this kind of short stance down dog or long stance forward fold. Hands are shoulder width distance apart. Come up onto the toes, bend into the knees. Pull the hips so far back that you might as well be seated onto the heels. You're rooted into finger pads and knuckle pads. We're gonna play with some hops off of both feet at the same time. If you're working on catching the balance in handstand, great, play with that. If that sounds like it's not in the wheelhouse for today, all I want you to focus on is getting your feet off the ground and getting weight into your hands, feet off the ground at the same time, and that is a wonderful place to explore and to play, even if you're nowhere near catching the balance. I want you to think about straight arms, turning the insides of the elbows forward and shifting forward as you kick off the feet so the hips can make their way over the shoulders, maybe, eventually, whether or not that's today. If you catch the balance, you can hang out there. If not, come right back down. Focus on landing softly, or as softly as you can. We'll take just a couple, so grip the finger pads into the floor. As you kick off of the toes, shift the hips over the shoulders, maybe, and then as soon as the feet plant, take a couple more. Again, maybe you catch the balance, maybe you don't, you're playing with a hop and a lower. And again, making the landings as soft as you can. So don't let the posture, wow, I'm flailing around over here. That's great, totally fine. An example of the practice in practice. Take 1 or 2 more. And then eventually, where I want us to meet is in an active squat about halfway up the mat. So the feet will plant wider than the hands, the knees will bend, and the fingertips will reach forward as the upper body is tall. So different than a passive squat in that we are lifted and we are quite engaged. Drive the knees away from each other. Let's bring palms to touch at the heart. Pop up onto the right toes, so the right heel is lifting up off of the mat. We're gonna pivot to the left into a double bent leg lunge. So right knee comes to a hover, pause, tuck the tailbone down. Maybe the right knee sinks even a little closer to the floor. Hands are to touch at the heart space. Let's soften the right knee all the way down to the mat. Now we're gonna play here with lifting the left foot to a hover above the floor. Let this be a balancing game. This next movement we've done standing, but now we're gonna do it on a different level. Left knee opens to the left. Now step the left foot to the back of the mat and sink into it. Let this feel good for the left hip. Maybe you straighten and bend through the left knee a couple of times. And then next time you're straightening out through the left leg, let's straighten it all the way until the left foot comes parallel to the back edge of the mat. Send the hands to the hips for a moment, and then hips pull back in space as heart reaches forward, spine towards parallel with the floor. Come back up tall, drive the hips forward, engage into the glutes along the way, and then 2 more times pull the hips back in space and reach the heart forward. All the way back up to the top. Last time, pull the hips back in space. And then as you lift back up, this time we pause at the top, reach the right hand out to the right. We're gonna lower the right hand all the way down to the floor, left fingertips up and over. Press into the right hand, press into the left foot. Can you hover the right knee off of the floor? Maybe you even pull the right knee towards the right elbow just for the fun of it. Left hand to the mat, kick the right toes up and back, 3-legged downward facing dog. As you exhale, curl the right knee to nose, curl it in, step the right foot through. Left knee softens down as you inhale, Anjaneyasana. Upper body lifts, arms extend up and over. As you exhale, straighten through the right leg, pull the hips back, half split, but keep this active, so extending arms to the space behind you. Now think crouching warrior, bend into the right knee as you shift your weight into the right foot, kick off of the left toes. We've been here. As you straighten through the right leg, pull the left knee into chest. Left thigh hugs up towards left rib cage. This time a big circular movement at the left hip. Let's open it all the way up to our half moon pose. So rolling the left hip open. Left leg kicks to the space behind, and right hand is either hovering above the floor or it's all the way down to the mat or to a block. Bend into the right knee as you step the left foot all the way back, warrior 2. Arms parallel or arms reach out long in both directions. As you inhale, reverse your warrior. Left hand, left thigh, right fingertips up and over. On your exhale, hands to the mat. Frame out the right foot as you step back to your plank shape and either move it through a vinyasa or skip it. We'll meet with the hips up and back, downward facing dog. That same sequence, second side, starting with walking the hands back until they're about halfway up the mat. All right, a couple more times with these tuck jumps where we come onto toes, bend into knees, pull the hips back, and as you grip the fingertips into the floor, hop off of both feet. Maybe you catch the balance and maybe not. Possible that the toes lift up off of the floor just a couple of inches at a time. And that's totally great. Again, focus on making your landing soft. And take 1 or 2 more. Not my strongest handstand day up here. Land in your active squat. So upper body lift, shoulders stack on top of hips, fingertips reach forward, and drive the knees out wide. Bring palms to touch at the heart. Maybe you sink a little bit lower into the knees here and then pop up onto the left toes. We're gonna pivot the left knee in towards the center of the mat until we're in a double bent leg lunge, facing off the right side of the mat. Palms to touch at the heart. Tuck the tailbone down and really press through the ball of the left foot. So the big toe mound of the left foot. Soften the left knee all the way down to the mat. A little bit of a balancing moment. Can you play with lifting the right foot? Again, we've done this standing. Open the right knee to the right, and then step the right foot all the way to the back of the mat and just sink into it. Just feel good for the right hip. For a moment, straighten through the right leg, straighten-ish, probably won't come all the way straight, and then bend. And then straight-ish, and then bend. One more time, maybe 2. Next time the right leg is straightening out, Bring it all the way straight and pivot the right foot so it's parallel to the back edge of the mat. Now we send the hips back. So back towards the left heel, either hands at the hips, or if you want more, hands can reach forward. And then all the way back to the top. Drive the hips forward. Pull the hips back. And then drive them forward. One more time, hips pull back in space. And lift all the way back up to the top, kind of head to sky. Glutes engage and drive the hips forward. Extend the arms out to a T. Left hand all the way down to the floor and right fingertips circle up and over, lengthening down the right side. Press into the right foot. Lift the left knee to a hover above the floor. Possible that the left knee even pulls in to tap the left elbow. And then circle the right hand to the mat, shift to the right toes, and kick it back, three-legged downward facing dog. As you take your next exhale, left knee into chest, step the foot through between the hands. Right knee drops down as you sweep the arms up and over. Anjaneyasana, low lunge. As you exhale, half split, straighten through the left leg and pull the hips back in space. Arms stay lifted if you can. Really dig the left heel into the mat and think of sliding it back towards the left hip. Think crouching warrior as you bend into the left knee. Shift weight into the left foot, palms come to touch at the heart space. Spine parallel to the floor, right leg parallel to the floor. You're driving into the left heel. As you straighten left leg, come all the way to stand. Right knee comes up into chest. Big circular movement at the right hip this time, so drive the right knee high. Start to open it to the right, and as the right knee starts to circle back, hinge forward at the left until you open into your half moon pose. Left hand either all the way down to the floor or to a block, or maybe the hand is hovering from the mat or holding onto the left shin. Can you focus for the scoop on the scoop of the left rib cage underneath you and the roll of the right hip and right shoulder on top? Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2, left knee bends. Right foot steps to the back of the mat. Full cycle of breath here, meet the shape. As you take your next inhale, right hand slides down the back line of the right leg as left fingertips reach up and over. And then hands all the way to the mat. Step it back to your plank pose. Maybe you move it through a vinyasa. Or of course you can skip it. Let's meet with the hips up and back, downward dog. And as you get there, soften the forearms to the floor for a dolphin pose. If you wanted to play with getting upside down into a forearm stand, great opportunity to do so, or a headstand. Otherwise, we're hanging out here. Last little burn for the shoulders, for the upper body. Keep pulling the low ribs in and also tractioning the heart back towards the tops of the thighs. You might bend a little deeper into the knees to give yourself some space to work with here as we hold for another 20. 15. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, soften the knees to the floor. Untuck the toes and hips to the heels. Let the hands rest into the lap as you close down the eyes. Take a big inhale to the top. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. Big inhale to the top. And move it through. And breath returns to long and even ins and outs. Eyes can either stay closed or they can softly open. Let's cross over the ankles and make our way into a seat. As you get there, legs extend out to a straddle. Toes are pointed up to the ceiling. Spine is really tall. If this is already a shape that feels tight for you, sit up onto something. So whether that's a block or a bolster, you can always bend the knees here as well. Welcome to stay tall, or you can start to walk it forward. You could be on the hands, you could have lowered onto forearms, you could make your way to the belly. As you fold forward, check that the toes are pointed up to the ceiling. So the thigh bones, your femur bones are staying open, they're not rotating inward. Using an inhale, walk the hands back towards you. And bend into the knees, bottoms of the feet together. As you get here, we're gonna lower all the way to our backs. So making your way down the spine. And again, landing bottoms of the feet together, knees wide for a Supta Baddha Konasana. Supta, reclined, Baddha, bound, cone, angle, asana pose, if you're interested in Sanskrit. You might give the slightest little press of the heels into each other, and then a little bit of a press of the outside edges of the feet into the floor. Option to stay exactly as you are, or for a funky variation of a bridge pose, you could press into the outside edges of the feet. And as you continue to drive the knees wide towards the mat, lift the hips up. Holding the top. And then lowering the hips right back down. As you get to the bottom, knees come together, bottoms of the feet to the floor. Walk the feet out wide towards the edges of the mat and drop the knees into each other. And from here, just windshield wiper the legs side to side a couple of times. Letting the movement happen at the hips. And find center. If there's any movements that you'd like before shavasana, please feel free to go there. Otherwise, you'll start to slide the legs long, drop the toes out towards the top corners of the mat. And take one more big inhale here, filling up to the top, your fullest breath that you've taken yet of practice. Belly expands, rib cage expands, collarbones lift and hold. Holding the breath. Finding the gap space between the madhya, the kumbhaka, the restriction. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. Allowing for breath to return to long and even ins and outs. And can you scan up the back line of the body and the places where you have points of contact with the floor, with props, with the mat, with the support beneath you, the places where you have points of contact, can you soften in? You soften into. And you're here for the next however long you have time, space, capacity to be here for. I'm going to leave us in shavasana. When you do come out, make it slow, gentle, sweet, nurturing. Acknowledging the transition space between what's now and what's next. Thanks for sharing the practice with me. I look forward to moving with you again really soon. Namaste.